All right, everybody. Well, we are ready for our next run. It's Momodora Reverie under the Moonlight by LaurieDBunnykins. And yeah, take it away.
Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to Momodora. This is going to be a run of the AVIB category on normal difficulty. I'll talk about what that means in a second, but for now I'm just going to jump into the game. Stay hydrated. Alright, and with that, I'll get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so the first 20 seconds of the run are cutscene, and then we're moving immediately. So Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight, 4th game in the Momodora series. It's a pretty good Metroidvania, short and sweet, and the movement in the game is pretty interesting. Right off the bat, I have this roll that I can do that's pretty fast compared to normal movement, and then I can also do what's called roll jumping, where if I press roll and jump on the same frame, I do both at the same time. It's pretty good for movement because it allows you to be able to move forward over these small gaps like this without having to lose speed. And then throughout this area, I can use it a lot to kind of just dodge attacks. Since it is a dodge roll, you are invincible for small parts of your roll. This first area I'm in, the Grove, is really annoying because some of these imp enemies that you're seeing are just completely luck-based in what they do. So it can be a really hard area to navigate because you can just get kind of bad luck and then you're taking a lot of damage. And since you don't have a lot of health at the beginning of the run, it's kind of easy to die at this point in the game. However, that's what this category is for. AVIB stands for all Vitality Fragments, Ivory Bugs, and Bosses. And it's kind of, because this game doesn't have an in-game percentage counter, it's kind of the 100% of this game. Not including map completion, because that is very stupid. So I'm going to be collecting 17 health upgrades and 20 ivory bugs, which are this key side quest item throughout the game. I'm not actually going to have to do the side quest that the ivory bugs are involved with, because that literally just involves talking to an NPC 20 times throughout the game, and that's not very fun. So the only things that the ivory bugs do for us in this run is merely serve as a major collectible. And then the bosses, there's one optional boss in this game. And to round out the 100% feeling of this category, this run requires us to do that boss. And speaking of bosses, I have my first boss here. This is Dea. She will move for a little bit and then do one of 3 attacks. And what I want to do is when she's doing one of her attacks is try and hit the pearl on her back, because if I hit that, it's kind of her weak point and it kind of does a lot of damage. So I beat that boss without getting hit, so I get a special item. Every boss in this game drops a special item if you beat them without taking damage, and Dea drops Dea's Pearl, which is really good as it adds a poison effect to our arrows. So I'll be able to deal a lot of passive damage with that. And then on top of that, I got 80 money during the first area of the game. And I used that to buy the Crystal Seed, which temporarily upgrades my attack by 50% on use. So it's a really good damage up item that's really, not hard to get at all. And just like that, I'm already on my way to the second boss. I'm going to take a safety save before the second boss because, this boss can be really annoying. And just like the last boss, I need to fight them damageless. I need to fight basically every almost every boss in this game damageless to get all the items I need to become just broken. And there you go, I already got hit. So that little dude there is Mocha, and he's very annoying. Those little imp enemies I said were very luck-based and awful in the first area of the game. Mocha is basically the same thing as one of those. So he's not very fun either. The main strategy is just going to be try and stand back and charge arrows at him, because it's one of the easiest ways to damage him. Unfortunately, he didn't go for any of his close-range attacks. Once he starts shuffling on the ground, the floor is about to fall from under, and that's going to start the real boss fight against Rubella. I'm going to use my Crystal Seed here, and also pop this Fairy, which is like a secret item you can use. I hope she repoisoned there. So Rubella is pretty annoying because she can... Okay, she didn't get repoisoned, so that's very unfortunate. She's not taking passive damage during this attack here. She can dive under the arena, and that wastes 12 seconds when it happens, and she can do it twice whenever you fight her. So that's like 20 seconds lost to RNG in this fight. Maybe more. But it's not that hard. I mean, it is actually pretty annoying, but this is one of those, like, I guess you could call it. This game does get a lot of Dark Souls comparisons, and it was kind of designed in a similar way, so I'm going to compare this game to Dark Souls, and you can't stop me. This game is kind of Dark Souls style of, like, the bosses is all about, like, learning patterns and learning to exploit those patterns. So a lot of these bosses are going to be, like, annoying to fight, but I'm not going to find them downright, like, overly difficult. And then as we get more broken items, as you can see with the Bossman patch, which we got from beating Rubella without taking damage, the bosses are going to become easier because there's going to be more reliable setups to just kind of insta-kill them. I didn't really want to take damage there. Hello? There we go. Yeah, that killed me, because I just got owned in that room by my computer. Shout out to my really bad laptop, by the way. It will run a game poorly, even if that game is literally, like, on the Game Boy. I guess I could explain the Bossman patch. There's a lot of squares, and all of them have a hitbox, and it's one of the most important items to get in this run, because not only does it make boss fights really fast, it also allows skips to straight up, like, exist in the game that save a lot of time. A lot of items in this game, a lot of boss items, are actually, like, there are reroutes you can do if you don't get them, but the Bossman patch is, like, I think maybe the only one that straight up is a run killer if you don't get it. Alright, that's the last enemy I have to deal with before getting to the next area of the game. So, let's just get through this cutscene. Alright, now we're in the Forlorn Monastery. So, once you beat Rubella is when the game really opens up as a Metroidvania. And at this point, our goal is to collect 4 crest fragments from around the map in order to open the final areas of the game. The first one we go to in the AVIB run is going to be Cinder Chambers, because the routing gear just kind of... There's a certain area I want to get out of the way before another area, out of the 4 areas I need to go to. And the way the routing works, this is the best place to start, because it's the only way to get into that one area without having to go through that second area I mentioned that I want to do second. So we just do this quest fragment first, because fastest way to go through this area, and I just fat-fingered the wrong key. Arsonist is probably in the running for the hardest boss in this run, because you fight her so early in the game. And it's implied from the fact that there's this, arena here. You can see that the two characters busted the wall that they've been fighting for a bit, and that's why Arsonist starts her fight at, not max health. But, she has more health than anything else in the game, so she really has the same amount of health as any other boss, despite not starting at full health. This fight can be really tricky, because she has a few rules she likes to follow in terms of what attack she does, and then sometimes she just likes to not follow them. The main thing that she will do, as you can see though, is the teleporting. She'll throw fireballs out like that. She's supposed to do that when she's off screen, but sometimes she'll just be like, I feel like teleporting anyways, and it can be very frustrating to deal with. But I got through the fight second try, which is really good. And for beating her without taking any damage, we get the pocket and sensory, which is one of the best items in this run, because it allows us to have a fire effect on basically all of our attacks. And that will be really good for every boss in the game, because the amount of damage that does is really big. It does apply the fire buffs to the Bachman patch. Every individual hit of the Bachman patch. Oh, I need to get this. So, the Bachman patch does, stupidly high amounts of damage thanks to that. And now what we have to do is get out of the Cinder Chambers. So, the boss takes place in kind of the lowest part of the area. And now my goal is to kind of climb my way back up the area in order to go to another area. So I'm kind of just going, not backwards to the Cinder Chambers, but just climbing up from the bottom and picking up all the collectibles in this area that I skipped en route to the boss. Also, I didn't mention this, I don't believe, but all the bosses, the crests that you get from beating the bosses, give you an upgrade, and this one gave me this mid-air dash, which is incredibly good for movement. So, you're seeing me use that all over the place in conjunction with roll jumps, because I get more distance out of it in a shorter amount of time. Okay, I've taken a fair bit of damage, so I want to make sure to be careful in this screen. So this is the kind of back end of the Whiteleaf Memorial Park, and you're not intended to get into the main area of the park from here. However, with the Bachman patch, I can use it as soon as I hit this screen, and it'll hit a lever that's on the elevator, and open that block that I'm not supposed to open from this side. And it'll let me break into the Memorial Park without needing to get the garden key, which ties into what I was saying earlier. I want to get to this area because there's something in this area. The area where the garden key is, has a collectible that requires something in this area, so I don't want to do this area after that area, because otherwise I have to backtrack for that item. And this is Luvala too. It's the same fight, really, except some of the attacks are a little bit harder to dodge. As you can see, though, with the pocket inventory, the Bachman patch kind of just destroys her. But since she did a dive at the beginning of the fight, not every hit of the pocket inventory was able to nail her down. And because of that, I've lost a lot of time on this fight, because she can just instantly die, or she can waste 20 seconds. Fortunately, she died of poison, in the middle of her second dive, so I didn't lose as much time as possible. But that was still not that great fight. Fortunately, that's one of the few fights I'm allowed to take damage on in this run, so I took damage on that fight, but I'm still allowed to move on. And we get cursed and transformed into a cat, which is pretty good, actually. The cat in this game is a really good form to be, because it can move faster than human form. So I'm in this little area here, and as soon as I get out, I grab the cat sphere, which allows me to transform between human and cat as will. So now you're going to be seeing the two a lot. The cat is going to be better for movement throughout the whole game, but worse for combat and other certain scenarios. The cat does less damage and can't use any item other than the cat sphere. And on top of that, it also can't climb ladders, and it doesn't have a ranged attack. So, like, fighting with cat is just kind of objectively worse, except for, like, one part of the final boss that might not even happen. I'll get to that way later. But the cat is really good for overworld movement and just, like, collecting stuff, which is what I'm mainly going to be using it for, so works out. Now that I got everything in the memorial park, though, my goal is going to be to leave. Since I kind of broke my way in here unintended, I can't leave the normal way, so I have to go all the way back through monastery and into, like, just back to where I came in. I didn't actually get a crest fragment from beating Lubella, so I need to backtrack to another part of the game in order to get that, and that's kind of what my mission is right now. So, on the way back to the starting area of the game, the Grove, I'm going to be getting a lot of collectibles that I didn't get in my first run through of the city, just because it saves like a tiny bit amount of time to pick up the collectibles when I'm a character that can move faster. But if you have a donation or an announcement to make, this is a really good time.
Sure. Well, I don't have any donations currently. I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have until the end of this run to meet our bonus run. It will be, let me see here, I have to look at the name because it's so strange that I constantly forget it. It is Celestial Hacker Girl Jessica. It is quite an experience. It's by Teddy Rest. It is our bonus run after this run. We need to reach a total of $1,700 in order to get that. So if you do want to see that, please get your donations in as soon as you can.
As someone who's on the submission committee for this event, that game is beautiful. But I made it max to the Grove, and now that I'm the cat, I can go through some of these small holes in the Grove, and one of them leads to where I am now, the 4CL, which is important for two things. One, it has this very difficult to get Vitality Fragment. I got it though. And then two, it actually has the second Crest Fragment. I can do a skip here if I do my jumps right to skip this entire elevator cycle screen, just like that. And then here's the second Crest Fragment. And my reward for backtracking all this way to get that Crest Fragment is actually the ability to warp at certain save bells so that I can kind of fast travel certain areas. And that's going to be really helpful throughout the run, just to kind of get out of areas after fighting the boss there. And as soon as I get it, actually, I'm going to go fast travel back to the first save bell in the game and do a little bit of a retread through the Grove now that I have the cat form to get some collectibles that I couldn't get as a human. Or some that I technically could, but it would be slower to do. Like that one. the other two things that I'm getting in this backtrack that require either a movement upgrade or the cat. Or both. There we go. Once I have gotten those collectibles, I can now go back to the city and make my way to the third crest fragment area. Also, something I haven't explained about the cat is that they actually have a lot more roll cooldown than the human form. So you see me doing this jump roll dash tech, and I'm canceling my roll jump with a aerial attack. That's because the roll cooldown with the cat is really high, so I have to cancel the attack. Or I have to cancel the roll jump with an attack, otherwise it's slower. Now we're in the subterranean grave. Got water in it. And this area is not that different from any percent in this run. There's only one ivory bug and one vitality fragment. I don't go this way. I just had a complete blank on which direction I go. Funnily enough, though, the biggest difference in this area between any percent and AVIB is not getting an item in AVIB that you have to in 100%. Because in the any percent route, since you don't need to get all the collectibles, it is faster to go to this area first to get the garden key and then go into the Whiteleaf Memorial Park the normal way. But since the ivory bug I got in this area requires having the cat, I had to do that sequence break, because usually the only other viable way... Oh, I landed in the spikes and died. But usually the only other viable way of getting into the Whiteleaf Memorial Park requires getting the garden key, which requires going to this area, so... That's why the routing in this category is the way it is, to skip this backtrack specifically. It's not as complicated as I am making it sound. I'm just being bad at explaining things because it's late. Alright, let's not hit the insta-death spikes this time. There we go. Alright, that was good movement there. And then coming up, we're going to have a really easy boss. Hopefully I don't jinx that. But this is Frida. And the goal here is to use all our items and then run away and spam arrows again. This fight can be a little bit tricky in any percent, because in any percent what can happen is Frida can do this attack where she charges up a big laser, and you have to run up and do melee attacks at the big laser in order to stop it from happening. But with the pocket and sensory, the flame effects from your attacks can actually be used to cancel the big laser. So there's just no more risk in that fight in this category. Pocket and sensory is incredibly good. But now that we've done the other three areas, the last area that I have to do that has a crest fragment in it is actually the Forlorn Monastery itself. I've been using it as a kind of hub area for a lot of stuff, but I have to actually go through this area now. So, it's pretty simple. We're finally getting to the point where these health upgrades have started to stack up, and I can take a lot more hits than I normally can. And then this is the cat room. It's the best room in the game because there's just a bunch of cats. There's also a key in this room. When I talk to Codalord, we get the monastery key, and this will allow us to get to the boss fight in this area. Alright. I just have to not hit this one spike here, and we're perfect. So before this boss fight, I'm going to go down into this hidden area here and grab 2 things. Well, 3 things, technically, because there are 2 ivory bugs in this area. And then also there's a soft tissue, which is not, like, too useful. However, like, on the surface, you'd think it's not too useful. But it's actually required to get the... I messed this quick kill up. Okay. When is my last save? Because that actually... Bad? Yeah, I am kind of greedy about not having saved before that boss fight. That's my bad. But the soft tissue is actually the main item you need in the side quest that unlocks the optional boss in this game. And since that's required in this category, that means we need to grab it. No, I'm gonna not be an idiot this time. Hit the save bell, and then do this quick kill properly. I'm gonna walk into this fight with an arrow charge, shoot it in the face, use these 2 threads, and then walk away, and I messed up my items again. Alright. This is literally like the easiest thing in the game. I don't know why I'm messing this up so much. Shoot the arrow charge in her face, use these 2 threads, roll back, and then use the threads, and then use the patches, and if you do it right, she just dies right here. What? What's your deal? I did it right that time and she didn't die. Okay. I've never seen myself not get it when I did the fight correctly, but that's incredible. Alright, if I mess it up this time... Yeah, there we go. That's gonna do it. That was stupid. But that's our last crest fragment. I didn't explain it, but the 3rd crest fragment we got made it so our arrows charge a lot faster. And then that last crest fragment we just got makes it so that we have an extra level of arrow charge. And that level of arrow charge is going to be useful on like 2 occasions. But the faster arrow charge actually does, like, change the way that you do boss fight, because instead of spamming arrows, I'm now going to want to spam arrows that I charge all the way up to level 2. So, a little bit of a difference in how I fight things going forward. Since the subterranean grave is the first area you do in any percent, though, that actually is one of the biggest changes between the 2 categories, outside of obviously getting all the collectibles, is the boss fights like all change because of how arrow charging works. This area I'm in now is pretty difficult to get through. The collectibles are all pretty easy to grab. I don't know why that platform wasn't moving. But big threat here is, despite the fact that I have 14 of the 17 health upgrades in the game at this point, enemies here still do stupidly high amounts of damage. So I have to be super careful here, because if I play it wrong, I'm just gonna die. Yeah, I can't take another hit right now. I'm gonna be really careful. Alright, we're good. I got a save point right here. Coming up on the next boss fight. So, let's hope I can get this one first try, because this is another really hard one. I got the Tainted Missive from beating Fennel without... I messed it up. I'll try it anyways. If I get lucky enough, that mess up actually probably won't matter at all. Cool. It didn't. Okay, cool. So the Tainted Missive is an item I got from Fennel. It takes away a quarter of my max HP upon use, but in replacement, it doubles my attack for a limited amount of time. So it's a better attack upgrade than the... It's a better attack upgrade than the Crystal Seed, but I can't use it directly in the boss fight because the health down from the Tainted Missive will stop me from getting the item for beating the boss damageless. Speaking of which, I just got the heavy arrows from beating that boss damageless, and those are really good because it's literally just like a strict upgrade to the amount of arrow damage I deal. So that's gonna make some of these endgame bosses a lot easier because they're just gonna die faster with no strings attached. Or my bad, there is a string attached. It's an equipment slot, which is like super worth it. Alright, so now that we're here, I'm gonna do another Bachman patch skip where I use it to like hit an off-screen lever to skip a part of an area. I do have to wait for the wall to move before I can like go through that area. And to skip the animation of the wall moving, I'm going to teleport out of the castle. And while I'm teleporting out of the castle, I'm going to go take a small detour to this area in the city and plant my leaf, my melee weapon, in this well. And what that's going to do is that's going to upgrade my leaf. That does two things. It not only upgrades my attack, but it also makes it so that I will get the good ending when I go to fight the final boss, which, because in this game, the bad ending doesn't activate New Game Plus when you get it, the leaderboards don't actually consider it as, game completion. So it's required to get that upgrade for any category that you do. But with the soft tissue handed into Choir, which I just did before going down here, I can now fight Choir as an optional boss. And she can be pretty tricky. I went for a bit of a riskier strategy where I use the Tainted Missive twice, once at the halfway point of the fight and once before the fight, so that I deal more damage during the fight, but I'm at a higher risk of death if I run out of HP. Fortunately, with the right strategy, that fight isn't too hard, and I'm able to take her out incredibly easily. And I don't need her damageless item. The boss's caveat of this category literally just applied to fighting her and nothing else. So that's the one optional boss of the game. And that's why I picked up the soft tissue, but now that that's done, we're just kind of on a straight shot to the end of the game here. I still have a few more upgrades to pick up. This castle has this last stretch of the castle has 3 more health upgrades and 1 more ivory bug, and that's all we're going to be able to pick up before we have all the upgrades. But there's also just still a few more pretty difficult things to do before I'm truly done, so... Here's hoping they go well. This part's really funny, because you're supposed to budget it so that you don't, land on too many of the platforms on your way to get the Vitality Fragment, so you can make it back across the spikes and not die. But you don't even need to use the spikes or the platforms at all. There we go. Alright, and coming up, climb up this ladder, and this save point right here is the last save point between now and the final boss. So everything between now and the final boss has to be done in one take. Which is kind of scary, but hopefully it doesn't go too poorly. There's a, like, mid-boss, kind of, yeah, there's like a mini-boss coming up, but they're pretty easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the Tainted Missive, and I have to figure out which one of these angels is real and which one is fake, and then hit the real one. I messed up the quick kill, but if you use 2 Sparks Threads and then get 2 Tainted Missive melee hits on them, that'll kill them in 1 cycle. But, I mean, I still got it pretty fast. There's an unintended way to tell which one is a clone and which one is the real one. And that is, this wasn't intended to happen, but for some unknown reason, the clone, like the fake angels, will fly higher up from the ground than the real angel will. So it's really easy to tell which one is real and which one is fake. The intended way to figure it out is to wait for them to do an attack. And the real angel will have like a red color on their attack. But I don't need to wait for that. And now we're coming to the final boss. So there are 3 phases to the final boss that I need to make sure I do correctly. This first one's pretty simple. I pop the missive here, wait for them to come out of the ground, do an arrow charge, a melee combo, and then I just get started on my normal attacks. If they do this triangle attack, that's not good, because that'll make phase 2 of this fight more annoying, because I won't have my missive active until phase 2, which I usually want. But I'll still try. And I want to save, for the record, I want to save my missive for phase 3, so. I also used my threads on that phase. And then there we go. That still wasn't too bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And now, phase 3 of the fight is really fast, so time is coming up real soon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for a flash of white to appear, use the Tainted Missive, count to U2 once that flash happens, then use my Bachman patch, both of them. And then I'm going to charge arrows while doing 3 melee combos, and after the 3rd combo I release the arrows, and that's time.
GG.
That was a run. So yeah, that's a really fun game. I've been running it for years, and I still have a bunch of fun with it. I don't have too much to say, other than shout out to the developers of this game, because very recently, like literally less than a week ago, the next game in the series, which is I think planned to be the final game in the series, was actually, we saw our first like gameplay trailer, and it looks really good. But yeah, that is Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, all Vitality Fragments, Ivory Bugs, and Bosses. So, thank you for watching.